in business
Mm-hmm.
and in entrepreneurship, you don't get what you deserve. You get what you negotiate.
Perfect.
Right? कुछ भी नया करोगे, you will not know what is happening
Mhm.
for the first years. You will not know.
Of course.
You have to blindly just give it 1,000 days, right? For things to even fall in place.
Mhm.
One mistake as a founder that you have made that you kind of think, I mean, you feel that you could probably, go back in time and could change if you could.
Not be one founder.
Hello and welcome to a brand new episode of Fintech Ki Baat Dil Se. This is your host Shreyas Jani, and today we present you one more interesting founder to talk about. We have Bhavik Vasa with us, founder of GetVantage. Hey Bhavik, thank you so much for joining us today.
Hey, fantastic. Lovely to join and chat with you on a Saturday afternoon.
Indeed, pleasure having you here, Bhavik. Quickly, before we get cracking on multiple topics and start demystifying fundraising and what GetVantage does, let's take a step back and let's understand a bit about your background. What is Bhavik Vasa as a person? What's your journey been like?
So, two words that describe me the best is sensitive extrovert. It's something
wow.
that I picked up years ago, and
Mhm.
I think it best represents my personality. I think from being a Bombay boy, born in a business family, and यार बनिया family से हूँ. Business can is the foundation and roots of what the family does. That's the environment I grew up in. So वो बोलते हैं ना यार, the first education or learning into the world of business and entrepreneurship came with my father in his office, and that time, at the age of 4 or 5, he would tempt me to go into office with him in the summer holidays, and the incentive was Gold Spot hoti thi wo time pe, right? So
Yeah,
go to
I
office and
remember.
get to drink Gold Spot. But I think that's where the foundation, that innate foundation of running a business or that dhanda, the blood really started from.
बिल्कुल. What's your earliest memory of that business जब आपको समझ में आया कि यहाँ पे कुछ तो business context में हो रहा है? Like, what's your earliest memory of your father doing that?
Yeah, so, very interesting, right? Back in those days, the business and the family was not different entities. एक ही
Right.
चीज होती थी.
अच्छा.
The business was all consuming of the family as well. मतलब वो दो different नहीं होती थी. Everything that we did, right, around our holidays, around our travel, everything was very intertwined with the
Okay.
business, right? I always remember, I think, the concept of there was nothing like these are the hours of working, or that, when dad comes home, there's work happening. So I think seeing my father build a small business from day zero, doing very new things. He's still, even today, it's interesting, at 67, he still runs his own business. And I think it shows you that for him, आजकल हम बात करते हैं work life balance, family life, work business,
I was actually going to come to that.
and you can't remove it from each other. यार हम लोग आजकल Saturday Sunday we think we have to take off. He still works every Saturday.
Oh.
And for him, if you actually make him slow down or not work, it'll actually be detrimental to his health. So I think my earliest memories was that, everything, whole and soul, right? And not only my father, the way my mother had to support him in setting up, having been a part of seeing the ups and the downs, the highs and the lows. हमारी family holidays were not tuned to जब school में छुट्टियां होती है. Family holidays were more tuned to when can he really take 5-10 days off from office, right?
Right.
So I think all of that set a very strong foundation to my understanding of what business should be and is, right? How you would save or negotiate hard for every little penny, right? In those days, to then cutting deals with me यार, the earliest memories I have is factory में जाके I used to be given a daily allowance to fix the boxes and do packing, right? And I would get paid for doing that, right? And I think that understanding that if you put in some work, you will get rewarded, and my strongest memory out of all of this is one saying that I still carry very strongly, that in business and in entrepreneurship, you don't get what you deserve, you get what you negotiate.
Perfect.
And I think
that's yes, makes a lot of sense.
evergreen. Types of businesses change, industries change, trends change. This one statement is so everlasting.
Definitely. Having said that, what you said earlier kind of, made me remember a lot of other conversations that I've had. The line that you opened with, right? मैं बनिया family से हूँ and यहाँ पे तो धंधा बचपन से सीखने मिलता है. And I can't remember the number of times I've heard this on this podcast when I'm talking with founders and somewhere else as well, right? जितने भी founders से मैं मिला हूँ, I would say 40% are बनियास. एंड सबका आके यही स्टेटमेंट होता है, यार बचपन से धंधा ही देखा है तो बड़े होके और कुछ करने का मन ही नहीं किया. 2-3 साल जॉब किया बट आई वाज नॉट एबल टू स्टे देयर. लाइक अंदर वो एक चुगली होती है कि यार खुद का कुछ करेंगे एंड दे गेट इनटू इट. So what is it that do you think ties down? I'm not trying to be stereotyping any specific this thing here, but what do you think is that common factor that drives individuals of a specific community, जैसे Gujrathis हो गए, Marwadis, Banyas and a few others as well, to kind of get into entrepreneurship or have that entrepreneurial bug inside them?
Yeah. I think this is all related to a lot of psychology in every sense of the way. It's simple conditioning that you grow up with. Right. In fact, these days, to be honest, I hear this as well, right? A lot of other founders says, don't stereotype कि तुम मारवाड़ी और बनिया हो तो ही तुम entrepreneur बन सकते. I don't think that holds true. The simple thing is, yeah, it's just the conditioning, knowing and unknowingly that happens around. Right? I don't think it's necessarily a good or bad thing, or that there won't be exceptions to a rule. But yeah, somebody who's born in a doctor's family will eventually, or the probability of becoming a doctor is far greater.
Yes.
Right? Yes. Or someone that grows in a actor's family or in an entertainer's family. Right? I think it's not that I didn't get enough inclination towards the arts and the performing arts. I've had and dabbled my fair share there as well. But it's just that conditioning. But the way you see things around you, the way you see the family function, the way you see the hard work, which ways the hard work goes in. I still remember, right? मेरे लिए बहुत नया नहीं है, right? I used to see my father back in the day setting up a factory, which was 2 hours away from Bombay. And every day in the morning he would literally leave, get 2 hours, work for 10-12 hours and then come back late, and then we'd have dinner together.
Right.
At a very late time in the night. But that was our way of saying we are together supporting what he's trying to build as a family.
Right.
So I think it's just those things that, the conditioning, जो माहौल में आप बड़े होते हो, जो बातें आप सुनते हो, right? And I've picked up where, you see that dabbling with risk taking. You see that dabbling with, trying to be doing something new and innovative. And I think that is passed over. I don't know though. I have a 5-year-old daughter and I don't know what conditioning I'll bring her into. But these days we are learning the importance of money. And, probably that's something that comes naturally to me to kind of pass on to her. So that's the unknowing conditioning I'm doing with her.
Well, I think that is very well captured, right? The environment you kind of grow up in builds your psychology in such a way that you get inclined towards that thing. जब आपने अगर पूरी जिंदगी अपने पेरेंट्स को और रिलेटिव्स को एक चीज़ करते हुए देखा है and you've seen them getting successful in that, you basically also kind of are inclined, and that I think makes a lot of sense. If it is prevailing in your family and community, it kind of seeps into you.
But there are days, एकदम honestly बोल कभी तो मैं I tell my dad also this, right? When we are sitting and having a chat, I'm like, yeah, why did I have to do anything on my own, right? Why take all this stress? Why take so much of pressure? And so sometimes you do question it also. It's not that straightforward.
Of course,
in fact. And I think I was lucky enough where I got some amount of global experience as well. Through all of that, it's not that I haven't seen the other side,
Right.
And so I do think that I have days, honestly, where I question, kahin bigger organization mein, if I was, sitting as a CXO, I would be doing better and not taking home that much stress, right? Work-life balance would be better.
Bilkul.
But then there are days where even in the lowest of lows or in the most stressful situation, I'm like, yaar, ye nahi kar raha hota, to I don't think I would be wanting to do anything else. So I think at the end of the day, that entrepreneur or that businessman blood wins over anything else.
So having said that, right, let's talk a bit about how your career journey has shaped out over the years. What did you start with, and how did you kind of get to a point wherein you were like, yaar, ye sab chhod chhad ke ab khud ka karna hai, and you started GetVantage?
तो ये तो मल्टीपल टाइम्स हुआ है. वो जो चुल होती है वो एक टाइम नहीं होती. इट्स नॉट अ यूरेका मोमेंट, राइट? सो यू ग्रोन अप being there, you kind of want to jump into it multiple times. I think it started with very simply. So as I was sharing with you, सबसे पहले the very interesting moment in my own career was come from a businessman family, born and raised in Bombay, but got a chance to go and study in the US. And मैं तो ये बहुत honestly बोलता हूँ यार, my entry into financial services was just luck by chance, right? I don't think so. After having finished my business undergraduation program, I got an on-campus placement from Wells Fargo Bank, right? Third largest bank, giving you a nice, picking you up from campus, literally. I don't think in my dreams I'd ever thought of getting into banking and financial services. But working for a bank was probably my last option in my mind, right? But as destiny would have it, right? You get tempted with the best true offer, and you pick that up. And that's where my career in California, where Wells Fargo Bank was headquartered, and my entry into financial services and that foundation of learning a little bit of the BFSI space. But very soon, once I got that right hang of it, that foundation, and here I found myself in Silicon Valley, the mecca of entrepreneur and startup, right? So I had to very quickly jump into a small tech shop, a startup that was doing emerging technologies. And that was my first way of joining in and jumping in as a founding member, very early member. I was 23, 24. I'm not an engineer, but here I'm finding myself in a tech startup. And
how did that go?
Very interesting again. So you were doing the basic hustle, trying to win any type of business, trying to build products that were emerging. And so I'd say this, right? I've ended up spending 15 plus years now in the world of fintech, when it was not even this fancy buzzword.
Right.
Take you guys back to 2004-5, the word fintech didn't exist. Right?
Of course.
And literally when we were building this small tech shop, you pick up the projects that nobody else was doing. So the big boys would not take up these pilot projects of doing contactless payments on the Apple campus, right, with Visa. And there was days you had those BlackBerry and Palm mobile phones, the brick size mobile phones, and you're doing mobile wallets and you're doing these digital payments. And so it used to actually, in those days, this entire space was called as emerging payments. There was no word called fintech, right? So that's how I again stumbled into doing things around financial technologies, because that was probably the very early days and an emerging space around that. So again, fortunately or unfortunately, stumbled into, and this is all through hustle, you pick up things that are just up and trending and probably very early. And I think somewhere unconsciously, I'm always very inclined towards picking up categories that are very new and early.
Right.
right? I don't know whether you call it the start of the wave or you catch the wave, but I think I've always loved a product or service that's very early or a category builder in itself. Sometimes in too early, but that's how from working for a large bank to a small startup doing retail payments, mobile technologies, wallets, digital lending, and I'm talking about literally a decade and a half ago.
2000s, right? Yes.
Yeah, 2006, 7, doing all of that. And that's when I saw the first downtrend of the world of startups as well. 2008, we all know what happened in the world. The financial big halls, what we saw in the valley. I literally saw blood on the streets in the valley.
Oh my God.
And you get first taste of experience. I'm this young guy thinking I can change the world. We're doing this amazing new stuff on different technologies, evolving technologies. And I saw 2008 happen. And I think that's where I innately understood that not everything is in a one linear motion. It's all cycles.
Of course.
My first real learnings of the startup world. But because we were doing something very new, we came out of it. We came out of the 2008 crisis. In fact, that startup got an exit in 2009-10 to a very large group called FIS, the largest global processor. And I think that was a good experience for me. Try my hands at a very early stage business, seeing what it takes to build a niche in a product category with emerging trends. We saw an exit, and that's when the next phase happened. We saw this exit in 2009-10, and I had a lot more opportunities open up for me personally. I was the face of this startup. I was out there hustling, winning business. And so while a lot more opportunities happened, there was some amount of conversations and interest from investors. I was dabbling with saying, is this the right time for me to start something of my own? And tab ek aur chulai, patriotism or jargonism, I don't know. Sorry, more jingoistic than anything else. But I chose to come back to India. Sorry. And I said, yaar, ye interesting lag raha hai. Payments, fintech is just kind of getting trendy. Let's go back to India. And so here I found myself coming back to India 2009-10.
And that is when I think everything just started off, right? 2009-10 mein to just cheeze change. Exactly. Just still.
And so I came with, in fact, that's when I set up, as a co-founder, my first business called Radical Payments.
Wow.
Radical Payments was to, really come up with that radical, product process of how we would digitize payments and the user experience. We were doing things around prepaid cards, gift cards. That was the first wave of everything.
Yes.
And so I remember, 2009 में तो इंडिया में यार जिनके 5-6 VC funds होते थे, a handful of angel investors, and that's it. That's how shallow the startup ecosystem was. True. Now here is 2009-10. I've come back to India. My entire friends and family, right? Into sub family, mein all the cousins have joined the family business. I'm the only one who didn't join the family business. Here I'm come back doing something called startups. किसी को startup words नहीं आता था तो वो
टाइम पे जो किसी को भी नहीं.
और startups कर रहा है और वो भी digital payments में. ये क्या होता है? Payment gateway था और क्या था? So I think for the longest time, my friends and family didn't understand what I was doing, what I was trying to do. But I still thank my parents, my family for supporting and letting me do what I had to do. So as I was kind of putting together Radical Payments in India is where this opportunity with It's Cash happened. And It's Cash was expanding, building out, from being a traditional digital cash company to now going more and more into mobile technologies, emerging products. And that's where I was able to come on board to head all new business and initiatives.
Right.
The whole concept of Radical kind of merged into with It's Cash. And we then again found myself as not only category creating, and if you remember, It's and one of the earliest fintechs in the country, right? True. Those are there was nothing called a PPI license that the RBI gave, right?
Of course.
And these were some of the first and only players that had already got a license. And so, then that's when the last, decade went in building its cash, scaling that business, taking that to a sizable size, scale, revenue, turned it profitable before we finally found an exit. But, through all of that, here is one more learning. Valley May, you get to see or you understand that you could probably spin a startup and, you're doing something new, you could put it together and in 3 years, 4 years, you can kind of scale it.
Right.
You might also see an exit. And you come to India and you're starting to see startups by itself, an ecosystem is very nascent. And India mein 3-4 saal mein kuch nahi hota hai. It takes a decade to really build a business. It took us, various cycles to kind of get that inflection going. And I think that's what sets you up and makes you understand that here, India, the opportunity is vast, right? You are really going and building a much larger scale, but it takes time. And so patience is so important in emerging markets, especially like India. And when you're building something that's category new in nature, you're changing consumer behavior. So I think that's the second very strong learning that I picked up through that entire experience. Building its cash, scaling, building out revenues, making it profitable before we finally took an exit to a NASDAQ group.
Perfect. So, having said that, right, once you took an exit from its cash, that is when GetVantage happened, right?
No. So, once we took the exit, in fact, I was chosen to kind of lead the integrated businesses. We were consolidating and acquiring a lot of businesses. So that was another great experience. Through my long experience, I was able to set up something new. I knew what it took to take it from 0 to 1, then 1 to 10, 10 to 100, find an exit, be part of an integration with a larger group. But at the same time, then get that opportunity to be on the other side of the table and really drive some consolidation and M&A in the ecosystem. So we acquired tons of businesses across remittance, money transfer. We were able to pick up businesses like Vaya in travel, go deeper with that. One of the last acquisition processes I was part of was Centrum, and we picked up Centrum's money exchange business as part of the group. So I think I did get, and I spent another year and a half through that entire integration journey, driving the India business, India strategy. Till when I finally chose to step out. And it was all timed alongside another very important phase in my life, which is where I was going to become a father. And I very, very vividly remember and clearly remember that, 1st of August was my last day with the group. And 4th of August, 2018 is when I had my daughter in my hand.
Oh, so it was a birthday yesterday.
And that's what I was saying that,
wishing her a very happy
day, it's actually 5 years. He's just turned 5.
Oh, wow.
And I think I was lucky, right? See, having been at the front end as an operator, building, scaling business, being on the treadmill, I think it's also important to take a step back, take a pause. I think, opportunities and the timing allowed me to take that step out. And that's in itself, I found that little third learning. And it came very naturally to me that I wanted to be able to take some time off. Here I'm building startups and now I have the latest new creation in my personal life. And so I had to be very hands-on with that as well.
Sure.
So I gave that clearly a year or so, to be a hands-on father. I think it was a lovely phase in my life to be completely hands-on and be part of that creation and that startup journey as well.
Oh, that's great. That's great. Having said that, right, when you started GetVantage, what exactly was the most humbling moment for you when you realized that whatever I had learned, this specific situation is challenging everything that I know?
I think there are many, and I think there are those moments every day in
Oh,
building
wow.
GetVantage. But I'll tell you, late 2019, 2019, we went into stealth mode, put the tech team, put the platform together, again, Fintech at heart, right? Humbling moment came on 18th of March 2020. But all that experience of 10, 12 years prior, scaling businesses, setting up business, doing things in Fintech, and 18th March 2020, the world shuts down and COVID happens. And here I am just about setting and scaling up a new venture. Believe you me, all that years of experience, knowledge of what it takes to start a venture, not only Fintech related, but just starting a startup, starting a new venture, all of that out of the window, man. Right? We were all in complete unknown waters. The world shutting down. We didn't know what is happening. How do you take the next step? All the plans, and it was unreal. I still remember 16th or 17th of March, we were all still in office coming. There was some news that, okay, should we kind of announce holidays from tomorrow or, couple of days off or not? And I'm, the natural hustle, Bombay mein barish ho, whatever, it's flooding, you still show up in office as a startup, right? And I was like, we'll still hustle. I thought, what's the worst that could have happened? But here is where we all found ourselves, that we were forced to be locked in. And I think that was a humbling moment, right? That
Indeed.
And from that day, I stopped saying that, I tend to now stop sharing how many years of experience I have. Doesn't matter. As good as what you learned or what you can implement today.
Perfect. Indeed. I mean, that was a moment that I think nobody could have anticipated, like how much our experience or how much ever they have been in the industry. That was something that shook and shocked us all. And I think a lot of startups were really affected by it as well.
Yeah, we are supposed to have accepted from day one that a startup journey is going to be full of uncertainties, full of vulnerabilities. But ye to koi next level ka uncertainty and vulnerability. You didn't know what will happen tomorrow morning, right? And then to still keep a strong face and then quickly flip to, the new normal that we were talking about, right? Starting to meetings on calls. And setting up a new venture is difficult. And in financial services, in Fintech, you have to be very process, compliance driven. Get your things right from very early days. And now you're trying to do all of those things virtual, right? But
really challenging, yes.
But I think it also gives you that little bit of more maturity that in hindsight, everything is, good and great when it happens and why it happens, right?
True.
I think we as a business are far more stronger because very early in our days, we were forced to do things differently, to do things much more in a detailed oriented fashion with all that virtual. We couldn't take shortcuts, right?
Of course.
And only when you look back, can you kind of see that hindsight is 2020.
Indeed. And you know what, being a founder in itself is probably one of the most stressful caps that you could put on, right? In the early days, especially. And that too, building during something like COVID would have been over the top stressful, I'm assuming. So how did you kind of deal with that, right? What was your go-to relaxation technique, or what was your go-to disconnecting technique so that you could stay sane? Because you were the one who was holding the entire company together. If you fall apart, it all falls apart, right?
I think there's no magic mantra to this. There's no silver bullet. But, one thing that I've again picked up from my father, he's shared this one very interesting take with me, which allowed me to continue to stay strong in these moments. And he says a simple thing: whenever you do something new, it's a 1,000-day rule. 3 years and 1,000-day rule. Right? That aap kuch bhi naya karoge, you will not know what is happening for the first 3 years. You will not know. You have to blindly just give it 1,000 days, right? For things to even fall in place, right? For you to start having some method to all this madness, some sense to all the chaos of early days, right?
True.
And this is true for anything, not just for entrepreneurship. Whether you're setting up a new business, new venture, or you're picking up a new skill or a new job, or you're entering a new space of teaching yourself something new as a skill. So that 1,000-day rule, something I kept reminding myself through all of this vulnerability. That look, theek hai, it's nothing new. I knew that when I was setting this up, the first 1,000 days are going to be very, very difficult. It's going to be very vulnerable till we even know that we've figured something out. Right? So I think it was kind of keeping on reiterating that to myself is what gave me a little bit of sanity. I don't think, you have to find a lot of other ways to give yourself strength, conviction, but remaining safe through these vulnerable times. So yeah, that 3 years.
Perfect. Excuse me. I think that really makes sense, right? Even if you look back at a lot of things that even I did, in hindsight, of course. I mean, that time I hope I was that wise. But it does make sense that if you're stuck to that for 1,000 days and some things are falling in place, that is when you kind of realize कि यार इसका क्या हो सकता है, करना है नहीं करना है. But 1,000 days, when you're 30 or 40, when you're 30 or even 20, it's like 10% of your life. Do you kind of get to commit that kind of time without even knowing कि कुछ होगा कि नहीं? That is another dilemma that a lot of people face, right?
And I think every phase brings a little bit of a different sense of perspective, right? Sometimes in, of course, early 20s, you are a little more aware of the unknown, and so the ignorance is bliss sometimes, and you tend to stretch your way through it. When you're in your 30s, you have 10 years of experience, 15 years of experience behind you, and so you are then saying, oh, I've been there before, possibly. So all of this though, right? I think it all comes from, you have to have a deep sense of purpose. वो बोलते हैं ना जुनून या पागलपन या purpose. Sometimes you have to be irrational to stretch your way through this painful, vulnerable.
Yes. Indeed.
And then I think that's
having said
experience.
Of course. No, that makes sense, right? If you have the passion to pull through, then चाहे जो हो जाए, you're like gonna, लो पागलपन है तो वो खींच ही लेगा, मतलब that happens, right? Having said that, one mistake that you have made that you think you could probably, you could have avoided, or you think could have been differently done?
Getting too emotional and taking things personal as a founder.
I see.
Especially in the early days of setting up a business, right? I think that's one thing that I think, you're just so passionate. You want to be able to have a lot of things in your control, and you have to keep reminding and realizing that not everything, or actually nothing, is in your control. You can just do what you can do. And when things don't work out, right? Don't take it personally or emotionally. And that's not only about winning projects or winning, getting the first breakthroughs or with investors when you're fundraising, but even the early team you put together, right? Realizing that a lot of times, and I, see a lot of founders, and I see myself making that mistake. People will come, join you, whatever reason they might leave, right? Or things might change. Right? It's not they are leaving you, or you can't find loyalty, or they are breaking your trust, and you start taking all this too emotionally because you're too attached to the venture, right?
Of course.
होती है यार, उसकी life में कुछ हो रहा होगा, इसलिए they are making those decisions and moving out. It's nothing to do with you or the business, right?
Right.
So again,
of course,
just don't take every rejection too personally and emotionally. Could not have.
How did you change that?
It doesn't have anything to do with you or your business.
True. No, that makes sense, right? I mean, early days when you're building something, you are so personally attached and you have given so much to it that it becomes an extension of yourself, and anything that happens to it also you also take it personally as such, right? But how do you disassociate from that?
No, so that's where you don't, like I said, don't leave your purpose and passion. but you have to not take it personally. Right? So purpose, passion, and persistence are the 3 P's you should have,
3 P's.
and not taking it personally is the P you should not have. And I'll tell you one small thing in work, right? And it's very difficult. You every day through the mind you forget it. I'll tell you one hack that's worked for me. I hope it works for others. यार मैं जितना भी ज्ञान भी बोलूंगा ना, I will still find myself thinking something only tomorrow when I go back into office, right? But the only way you can do this is, like everything in nature, even with your own body, right? You have to shower every day, brush your teeth every day, right? You can't say कल कर लिया था तो आज रहने देता हूँ.
Right.
So the same way, find or add something in your routine that allows you to keep reminding yourself this every day. So whatever you're struggling with at any phase, right? Whatever is that one challenge that you're struggling with, whether it's stress, anxiety, whether it's rejection, whether it's being too emotional, find this hack, before you sleep at night, when you have, all green tea, or when you probably wake up the next day morning and when you're taking a shower, brushing your teeth, just like that routine, find that 1 5-minute moment or that 1 minute moment and remind yourself that I don't go back into this. So you have to find and add this to your routine so you don't get, and find a way to keep reminding yourself not to fall into that trap again today. Today is a new day.
Perfect.
I have to make sure I don't fall into this again today. Right? This mental trap today.
Got it. I think that daily reminder will be really helpful. And thanks a lot. I mean, this really puts things into perspective, right? I mean, I've found myself a lot of time in the situation where I end up taking a lot of things in the professional life personally, and then kind of it sticks with you and it affects you a lot mentally. So I think this trick should also help.
It's a that sand.
Having said that, yes,
you keep getting pulled into it, and so it is very challenging mentally as well. The founder of any job these days, right? In any level of position, all you have to do is make sure you reset yourself, recalibrate yourself daily, so that you don't carry forward the baggage of yesterday into again today and tomorrow.
Perfect. Point taken. I think this is really helpful. Having said that, one last question for this segment before we close this off. What are the top 3 takeaways or don'ts for budding entrepreneurs that you would want to give them as a piece of advice?
I think one of the most important takeaways I want to give everyone, and I keep sharing with all my portfolio founders, businesses as GetVantage that we funded, or me as an angel investor, or wherever I'm mentoring, is there is a slight unpopular approach, but I try to popularize it and try to provide very, very strong insights into is balanced growth. The word balance is very important, and that is different for everyone. And I tell everybody entrepreneur that try and strive for the word balance, because believe you me, we as a generation have started moving everything to very fast. Everything we want is fast gratitude, fast growth, fast funding, right? But if you see, everything in life, everything in nature is cyclic and is balanced, right? And I think there is no, human beings cannot, ventures cannot, humans cannot try to break that. So whenever you're in building out your own strategy, try to go for a balanced growth. Nothing that is built very fast is going to sustain, and that you get from nature, right? So the second piece of takeaway is, look, I face this daily, right? Decision making is so important. In the hot seat we sit, and you don't know how to decide, right? What is the right, wrong decision, right? And so if you can keep reminding yourself that how would you operate for building something in a more balanced way, and B, the decision making coming from, take inputs from nature around you, right? Nature is the best teacher and helps you make a lot of decisions, right? you will always see the strongest trees are grown with deepest of roots, right? You'll always see that, like nature, seasons come and go as well. So there's never just a budding winter. A budding winter will get followed by spring and then summer, right? So always remember that there's nothing that's going to, in nature also, nothing continuously lasts. There's always a constant change. And so whenever in doubt, just look outside, look around, you'll find your answer.
Of course. Perfect. I think that was really insightful. Thanks a lot, Bhavik. This was really an amazing conversation. Having said that, we come to the close of our first segment, the founder story of Fintech Ki Baat. Thank you so much.